This is Upper Deck sketch artist Marcia Dye, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. With me as always is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. He's still not slept since the Mandalorian Season 2 trailer dropped, and now sleeps on a Norrin-sized child pod that floats about his home. It's Norrin Rad.
I'm so excited about that show, and I love this. That was great imagery. I'm with you on it.
Yes. I just got this image of you like in one of those floating pods. I don't even know what they call those things.
I don't know, but I want one. I want to be in a floating pod. I'm fine with that.
That closes itself when you push a button.
I look very pretty when I lay down. Like, that's what I've been told. Like, I have this glow about me, kind of like you see, like, on a shell. And yeah, maybe this is kind of weird information.
We'll move on. We'll move on.
I'm really good looking when I'm horizontal. I don't know. Didn't mean that in a weird way. Meant that like in a cool way.
You have actually made me go red. This is the first for the podcast.
Nailed it.
Made me
Done.
Glow. You've made me glow.
It's my first time.
But have you seen the season 2 trailer?
Multiple times, sir. Yes, it was amazing. No, it was great. I'm very excited to see what's going on and what's going to happen. Apparently, each episode is going to act as its own little story, so they're not going to be interconnected as much, apparently. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. Pretty exciting.
We only finished season 1 last week.
Did you really finally?
Yeah,
awesome.
I'd watched the first 4 episodes and then I kind of put a pin in it, and I was like, then I spent 6 months trying to convince my wife that she needed to also watch this show, and she finally relented on the grounds that she could watch the Great British Bake Off. So it's all's fair in love.
That's good. Television. That's good compromise. I love it.
So yeah, and I think to her credit, she actually enjoyed it. So what can you say? We have a guest with this week. It's not just Norrin and I talking about Baby Yodas, although I'm sure we will do an episode where we just talk about...
We can talk about Baby Yoda.
Yeah, we can talk
get
about
Greg on here, talk about Baby Yoda. I'm in.
Yeah, it's fine. But we have a guest, and the reason I kind of started with Star Wars is because our guest this week has crossed that mighty divide between Star Wars cards and Marvel cards. So without no further ado, I'm really excited that Marcia Dye has joined us this week on the podcast. Welcome, Marcia.
Hi, hello.
Now, Marcia, you are really, really close. You're in the same city as me, I believe.
No longer. I used to live in Norwich, but now I've actually moved to the Norfolk coast. So, yeah, how are you finding Norwich, Ian?
Well, I've been here about 3 years, just over 3 years now, and I've got to say, apart with the weather of the last 48 hours notwithstanding, it's lovely and has one of the lowest COVID rates in the UK, so I'm kind of okay with that. So yeah, so you've moved out of the city up to the beautiful coast.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Marvelous. Well, you're still local as far as I'm concerned.
Not far.
Yeah, not far at all. No, this will mean absolutely nothing to Norrin, because I tried to explain. I can't remember what episode it was on recently. I tried to explain the concept of Alan Partridge to a guest that we were introducing. Aha! And again, loads of listeners all over America are just staring at their devices blankly and just blinking, much like Norrin is now.
Wait, what? Are we talking?
Yeah.
Are we saying words? What is this? No. Ian keeps me up to date. I feel like I'm getting some culture.
You are getting
schooled. I don't know how much culture this show gives, but Ian has been schooling me quite a bit.
English comedy. The reason I mentioned that is because, Marcia, I wanted to ask you if you'd seen that outside the Forum, which is the main library building in Norwich, for those who don't know, there is a massive bronze statue of Alan Partridge.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I think it's only there for about 10 days.
Oh.
but some artists have just like been working on it for several years, and it's about 9 foot tall.
Really?
Yeah. Of this fiction, and Steve Coogan, who plays Alan Partridge, has been interviewed about it on BBC, and absolutely loves it. So anyway,
he must have had a hard life being 9 feet tall. That's rough.
Yeah, well, it is rough. So Marcia, welcome. Marcia, you so for those who don't know, you're an artist, and I first came across your work on Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. But
for Rocket Deck, that was my very first set.
Oh, yeah. Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So was that your first set on doing sketch cards, or where did you start doing sketch cards?
I actually started. I got a implementation from Tom Breyer for Bragent. I don't know if you know Bragent Publishing.
Yeah.
I've gone out of business now or something. But it was for Vampirella 2012, so I've been working on those sketch cards since 2012.
Wow. Okay. So yeah. So you've been in the game long enough to know where the bodies are buried, I guess. So Vampirella 2012. So was it Bragent sets that you started off on those? How soon did you kind of start with other companies? Because you've crossed multiple companies and licenses, haven't you?
Yeah, I've worked on so many different licenses. I've worked with Tops, Dynamite, Rittenhouse, Cryptozoic. I've had so many highlights since I've been just doing it for the last 8 years. Loads of things like I did parts of the Hobbit set, Star Wars, Star Trek. I think what else? There's so many.
Not sure what's
Vampirella, Red Sonja, Dawn, Walking Dead, DC heroes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I could go on forever.
Wow. Well, no, you're more than happy to go on forever, because that's exactly what we're here to talk about. So I guess for me, I wasn't aware of your work, or even that you existed, until I saw you on Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. So and I looked on your LinkedIn page, and I kind of didn't get. I'm just curious to know, as much as you're comfortable talking about, just kind of what you were doing before. Have you always been an artist? Is it something you've been doing commercially, and how that kind of led to the sketch cards? If you just kind of your origin story, really.
I've always loved watching people create art, and creating art myself. My dad used to sketch and paint when I was little, and my earliest memories of spending hours watching him sketch and painting and stuff, and seeing the magic appear on the canvas. It really fascinated me. And then I sketched throughout primary, middle and secondary school. And I was encouraged by my art teacher to go to life classes. So obviously I've always liked to do faces and drawing from a nude model and that sort of thing. And then I studied a national diploma in art and design at the Norwich School of Art. Well, I think when I went there in the 90s, that was Norfolk Institute of Art and Design. And then I went on to get a degree. And then I had my daughter. And so raising her, the art had to go on a back burner a bit. And then I started selling stuff on eBay, like a lot of artists do. Paintings, Gandalfs and Hobbiton and Rivendell. Then I went on to sketch cards because I saw how popular they were and that they sold well, and everyone could own a small piece of artwork, and they were reasonably priced. So I thought that was really good. And of course, they go everywhere because they get traded between people, collectors. So you never know where they're going to end up, turning up. So, and that's it, really.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because I guess from the point of view of the sketch card, certainly from the Marvel point of view, your profile is kind of huge internationally now in terms of the sketch card world. Just in terms of, I see you up being talked about all the time on the Marvel.
You were one of the first people I heard about when I got into the hobby. Was Marcia Dye? Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember coming into the hobby and I was starting with artist proofs, and I was talking to artists and getting those cards drawn and all that kind of stuff. And you were on my list for a long time. I stopped getting to the list for a little bit because of the podcast and everything else with life. But I remember I was like, man, I was trying to get all the top tier people, and you always came up on everybody's list. Everyone was like Marcia Dye. But I think what's really awesome about your work is you can definitely see your influences of, models and seeing faces and portraits and, really getting into the details of the personality and the face and the eyes, and really beautiful work there, which I just think is just so fascinating. I think it's such a different take to sketch cards because you have like the ultra realism, like it feels really, really, really pretty, really pretty. Yeah. Really beautiful work.
I'm just going to start off by I just want to, just as a point of starter, really. I purchased from you actually via eBay, which is going back a couple of years. The APs, the Black Cat APs.
Yeah.
Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. So I've got not just one, but then you listed another one. I was like, oh, I love that as well. So I am very, very happy to own those two. And I've not been lucky enough to acquire any more because your cards are pretty sought after, and I kind of don't spend as much on sketch cards these days, simply because there's so much else to chase for the character, and I kind of feel like I've almost peaked, if you like. I'm very happy to own these. I'm Marcia Dye. I'm not just one, but two. But just this. This is always amazes me with artists is how you manage to get, especially with this one, how you manage to get so much depth and scale into such a finite,
That's beautiful.
2.5 by 3.5 card, which you continue to amaze me with some of the stuff you've had coming out. Did you find that a challenge when you started working in sketch card size? Because obviously at this point you were 5-6 years in doing sketch cards.
Yeah, I suppose. I used to work really huge when I was younger. I used to work on 4 foot pieces.
Wow.
I'll just cover a bit of old hardboard with a bit of emulsion and do figures and all sorts. And so it's a big leap to a really small piece of work. But then you can get it done a lot quicker and then, bang them out and everyone's happy, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say so. So do you, how many, because I know you're on the Masterpieces 2020 set that's just dropped, and I know we can talk about that because it's out there now. And I'm sure that there are probably some other sets coming up that you're on that you probably can't talk about, so we won't.
I've got 4 due out that I've worked on Upper Deck sets,
Wow.
but
Okay.
I can't tell what ones they are.
No, that's fine. I think we probably know what they are, but we can't talk about what they are. So
Yeah,
I think we'll just leave that there to spare any blushes. But were you on the Marvel Premiere sets as well?
No, I think that's the only Marvel set I haven't actually been on Premiere. I'd love to be on Premiere, so maybe in the future if there's another one. But no, I haven't had that chance yet.
Wow.
If you're listening, Sam and team at Upper Deck, Marcia needs to be involved on that. Now, the reason I ask is because obviously that's a bigger canvas for a lot of those cards, because you have the multiple panel cards in Premiere.
Yeah, that for your work would be absolutely amazing to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely invest in a little bit of Premiere if you were involved. So,
Same.
do you? How many sketches did you do for? Let's talk about Masterpieces, just as it's pretty recently out.
I can't remember exactly because I've done so many sets in the last couple of months. But I think I did about 42 in the end for the masterpieces set. Because a few were rejected.
Okay.
So it's about 42 that are actually floating around in the packs or the e-packs or wherever they end up.
Yeah. Cool.
Wow.
And what kind of, because obviously everyone works at different speeds and everyone's got different kind of styles and how they do it, and you've done it long enough. I think you've probably got your own system, to bang them out as you phrase. How long would, let's just say you maybe you probably did about 50, and then we've got some rejects. How long would that kind of be expected to take you?
I don't know. It just depends on what the deadline is. Upper Deck are fairly good. They do give you a pretty good deadline. I mean, tops. I'm working on a set for them at the minute, a Mando set, and that is good. Literally all the artists have got like a week to get them done, which is yeah, especially if you're in the UK like I am, because obviously I have to get them done and then mail them back. But I'm really pleased to be on the set. I'm pleased all the work keeps coming. But Upper Deck are pretty good with deadlines. But if I've got several to do, that can take me a couple of months, really. And then often I'm juggling 3 different card sets by various companies at the same time. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a in some cases. They all seem to come together. All the work seems to kind of, pair together.
Yeah. Have you found how? We've not asked this of any artist actually, but it's kind of come up in conversations, especially with Michael Munshaw when we spoke to him. How have you found it's changed in the last 6 months with the lockdown and with coronavirus? Have you found that actually it's kind of almost no different, which is what Michael was saying, because he's kind of indoors just working away anyway?
Yeah, I've been having lots of work actually around the COVID. It's not really affected my workload or anything. It's been, luckily I'm one of the lucky ones really. When you think all these people losing their jobs and everything, but actually sketch card work's still coming. And yeah, how were you finding lockdown around March, April time? Does it drive you crazy or?
Well, I think it's different for different folk. I mean, we've got the shared experience of how the UK dealt with it, and I was furloughed from 31st of March, and I've only recently gone back part-time, and I'm still on furlough 2 days a week. For those who don't know, there's a government-supported furlough scheme, so the government effectively paid most of the wages of anyone who went on furlough. So I was kind of blessed in that regard, because I know a lot of places in the world didn't have that. And even if you're in the UK, some industries and professions, and self-employed especially, didn't have that safety net, if you like. But I know in America, obviously, there was a different situation, and companies did lay off massive amounts of people instantly, simply by virtue of the fact that they had to. So I've kind of been blessed in that regard. But I just kind of, obviously Norrin and I focused on the podcast a lot, as I think hopefully people can tell from our output over the last 6 months. I think we've been trying to do the best job we can for people, and enjoying it. But also, I kind of went into learning mode, and did loads of online courses and things, just in case the worst came to the worst and I needed new skills or retraining or stuff like that. So that's kind of how I went in with it. Norrin, because it's different in different states in America, isn't it, in terms of the lockdowns, and obviously with your
it's scary here because the world's falling apart in America. But yeah, it's been fine. We've gotten a chance to hang out with our animals a little bit more, and then I do my work, and I do writing and stuff like that, and teach film and so forth at the university here. So I've been able to teach online and then, work on scripts and do kind of like the artist thing and hunker down. I'm pretty much a hermit as it is. The group is where I have most of my interaction. But, just trying to stay out of people's way. Some people don't know how to wear a mask. That's pretty much what I'm dealing with over here. So I'm just staying away from those kind of people. But, yeah, nothing too crazy. It's funny talking about sketch cards and taking a look at these and talking about 2020 because there's been such a resurgence of collectors for the group and Marvel Magic collectors. And, Marcia, you've gone from Star Wars to Marvel. You've done all this different kind of work. What was it like working for MM 2020? Like, did you do anything different with your sketch cards? I was looking through them and I saw some really beautiful portraits and full bodies. I was just wondering, what materials did you use? All that kind of stuff.
I use my favourite materials for sketch cards, which is markers. I like enjoying sniffing markers when working. Polychromos pencils, watercolors, a bit of everything on them really. And what I tend to start my process is I sketch them out. But usually I focus on the faces first, and then if I'm doing a face figure composition, then I will kind of put the face down and then wrap the figure around it so it all works out. Obviously on the composition, such a small space. I'll do blue tone faces, so it'll be all colours like pale blues, so that actually the face retreats in the background, and then the figure. And so I tend to work all together, do all the blue tones on those sort of cards, and then I will colour in the actual figure part, and then I think that works really well because it really meshes well, and you kind of don't get everything pop out at you at once. You kind of have to kind of and look at it as a whole, really. Yeah.
I love that. What a great decision. Well, I'm looking at them now on your site on Facebook at Art by Marcia Dye, and I was looking at your Phoenix, and I saw kind of like the speckle effect that's around her hair and her eyes. And I just thought that was such a really beautiful decision. Really amazing work. And I love that you do that composition with the faces and the blue backgrounds just to give it some more depth. That's really cool. Really cool to see that. And we'll have all of this on the tasting notes as well, everybody.
Oh, yes, and we'll obviously link to all the relevant places you can find Marcia. I always, and it's really interesting because when I see your stuff is posted, sorry, I've just gone onto your page and I'm just immediately my jaw is on the floor from the ones I'm seeing. I just love the way you do the foreground character with the background character, like you did with the Black Cat. It's just such a brilliant composition. It's just a brilliant way of doing the cards.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's fun too because back in the day, I'm sure you know this, but with Marvel cards like 1993 Marvel Universe or any of those kind of cards, on the back you would have the character's portrait and then you would have a character full body, and that's why I'm like so obsessed with the card that Ian got from you with the Black Cat, because it just fits. It just reminds me of those old card sets, and it's just such a nice little tribute for that because I love that style. Such a good decision. You don't see those often either, right, Ian? I mean, I don't really see people doing that at all or as well as you're doing, Marcy. Like, it's really nice. Really clean stuff. Yeah, really cool. Really cool stuff.
It really, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me a little bit of some of the style of Marcia, you'll probably know the name, Mitch Ballard.
Oh yes, well now did he do Vampirella cards? I think he's done Vampirella.
He's done an enormous amount of Marvel over the years, but he does a similar thing where he'll have a foreground and kind of a background thing, and obviously multiple, almost layers is what I want to say. In how he kind of builds the image, and I mean his work is exceptionally sought after as well. People go absolutely nuts for it. So Mitch, if you listen, come and talk to us.
So I do have a question because I'm dying to know. I see a lot of different characters that you pick, but I see some of the ones that you kind of hover around. Do you have any particular favorites from Marvel that you're interested in drawing?
Obviously, I love to draw Black Cat.
Yay!
Because you do it so well.
Well, I think she really lends her character for pin-up sort of art, really. That sort of curvy kind of, and then obviously the face and the curvy figure in that, and it works really well. Storm is another favourite. Scarlet Witch. I'm trying to think of this. And Silk as well, I like.
I was going to say, you've been having fun with Silk and Spider-Gwen, I noticed, of late.
Those have been coming out really lovely. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
I know JD will be happy. So we have a friend who only collects Silk, and I know he's pretty obsessed with your work. So that's pretty exciting. I'm sure he'll be flipping out over the MM 2020.
He already has been. I've seen him. Gushing. Sorry, commenting all over Marcia's posts. I'm just looking through them now on your Facebook page, and it's like, so it's why I try not to dive into people's. You'll have heard this if you listen to the podcast. People know this. When I dive into someone's Instagram feed and I'm captivated by it, it tends to render me speechless because I'm just trying to take in what I'm seeing. So I can't.
You were asking questions earlier. I felt bad because I was just like, wow, because I got really quiet, and then I was like, should I tag Ian? I feel bad. I'm going to distract him.
No.
But anyway, it's lovely. It's very lovely.
It's all good. Do you, Marcia, I noticed on your Star Wars cards, obviously one of the differences with Star Wars and Marvel is the photo real aspect of it, and the fact that you've got real actor likenesses to work with, which I imagine is part of the from what I understand, it's part of the deal with Topps, is that you need to be able to, you have to stick to those guys.
To do photorealism and good likenesses.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. I usually am pretty good at getting a likeness. It's something I've always kind of been able to do. Yeah. No, I noticed this is why I was touching on it, because you do see a lot of those Star Wars sets, and obviously a lot of people. So I'm just looking at your Saw Gerrera from Rogue One. That's brilliant. A lot of people kind of. Seem to find it easier than others is probably the fairest way of saying it. I know some artists find it quite challenging to get that photo real likeness, especially some people like Harrison Ford seems to challenge people. He's a hard one. I find him really, really difficult to draw. Yeah, he's got that sort of face. I don't know why.
He has. He's got that.
Oh, that's really cool.
That drives all the ladies wild. You're Roger
drives
Moore.
me wild. How dare you, sir? That's Harrison. Okay. Well, it's funny. There's a Star Wars card. It's a character in one of the new movies, and it's played by Kerry Russell, and who's just amazing. And she is. You just see her eyes in the movie. She's wearing this giant helmet, and she's like a bounty hunter. Zora Bliss. That's it. And I'm looking at one of your cards now, and it's so crazy how good you are with the eyes, because it's basically, you have a helmet and then you have her eyes that are right there, and the likeness is dead on. And that's so impressive to do that with such a small amount of space of her face. It really highlights, your ability to do that so well.
Nerdy about getting likenesses and doing faces. I could just draw faces forever. I'm always looking for fun. I'll show you something. I've just been drawing like little face studies.
Oh, wow.
Do this and doodle all the while, and it's just something I just love to do. I did it well in class.
No, I understand. You really like faces. I think that makes sense. I'm just fixing my lighting here so you can see what's on my camera just a little bit more. If you, I'm just hanging out a bit. I don't know if you noticed this jawline or anything. You just want to put it out there for you, Marcia.
I'm pretty sure that Marcia will rebuff your efforts to get some free artwork out of her.
Oh no, I just want to be like,
you want to be Marcia's muse. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying. I've always wanted to be someone's muse. It's on my bucket list, and I don't. It's just my thing. Not free cards. Just like in case you ever need a face, I'm here for you.
Well, we're kind of halfway there in that Michael Munshaw has admitted to having our podcasts on while he's been doing a lot of his sketch card work. So we already influence.
Slowly but surely,
Yeah.
my face is just going to be plastered.
Well, at least one artist has done at least one artist has done a rendition of me that's in Marvel Masterpieces 2020.
I love that, by the way. That's so funny.
Which is, have you seen this, Marcia?
No, what character did they do?
Jalen Warner has done a Vulture from Spider-Man, which so basically a wizened old man. So he's got that nailed, and I've used it as my profile picture on Facebook, and it's everyone who knows me who doesn't collect cards, which is pretty much 95% of my Facebook friends, like people I went to school with, people I've worked with, are all like looking at their screens, going, "Eh." And then the rest, and everyone else kind of gets it.
See, but you have a beautiful shaped head, though. So, I mean, that makes sense. You know what I mean? I look like Tommy Pickles, or like, the road has been damaged. I'm bumpy everywhere. That's why I can't do it. Your dome, though, gorgeous.
Bless you. Bless you, dear. Marcia, it's very interesting. There's some artists who clearly do. And the most obvious one at the moment is Dave Palumbo. Dave, who, when you look at his original painting for The Wizard, which is in Masterpieces 2020, is clearly him. Absolute spitting image of him. And we recently spoke to, and by now people should have heard it, so I'm going to talk about it, Pat King, who was Dave's model for at least 30 of his pieces there, and some of the cards you can clearly see that it's Pat. Have you ever put yourself into any of your, or anyone you know, into any of your cards?
Unless you want to keep the mystery alive, you don't have to say anything. Don't let him pressure you.
Stop it.
I haven't really intentionally used myself, but like looked in the mirror or whatever. But I've heard, though, that when you draw stuff, sometimes subliminally, you can make it look like yourself sometimes. It's a known sort of thing. But, of course, when I was at art college, I used to do a lot of self-portraits then, but I haven't really done it now with the sketch cards. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm wondering if muscle memory might kind of bring in some elements of you. Some artists do use photo reference an awful lot when they're doing work, especially the larger pieces. Do you? It sounds to me like your training and your study that you've done means that you maybe don't use that so much, or am I wrong?
Use photo reference because it's just easier, really.
Oh, really? Okay.
Rather than getting someone to sit for me, which would be brilliant, but you can't always get some. I tend to use all sorts of things for reference. I've got a comic book photo reference thing here.
Oh, wow.
This sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Loads of people in different exciting poses.
So that's
awesome.
literally a book of someone of a bloke dressed in underpants who clearly goes to the gym a lot more than I do, in different poses, and that's the whole. Right, okay, this is interesting. Yeah. I didn't know this thing existed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's also a really good CD that I use, and it's called Life Models. But that one's a bit more. They don't wear pants, and you get. So
that's the good stuff. Got it.
Well, for the benefit of our American listeners, that means underpants.
Yeah. By the way, that took me forever. I had no idea. I was like, all right, because you don't have to wear pants all the time.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, that's really pretty.
They're really, really well lit. So it's not as good as the live class, but nearly as good. So like I'll use one of the models from that, maybe to do a storm or something. Like I've got a storm picture that I'm still working on.
Wow.
I'm still working on that. I did that with Andre. I did one of Andre's
that's right.
studios, and I only got so far with it, but I'd love to work on bigger pieces, but
it's beautiful. Wow.
Well, first of all, can I just say all this talk of models has woken your dog up. I think she's clearly titivated by the man in the underpants doing all the different poses, and who wouldn't be? Let's face it. He
was gorgeous.
He was a bit of a spunk.
I actually took 2 years of figure drawing classes where we had models come into the class and for like 3 or 4 semesters in college. It was fantastic. It's a really amazing experience because like it's true, like with the way the body is lit, especially like we had these giant windows, so it was a lot of natural lighting too because of the time the class was, and you would get these beautiful shades on the anatomy. I mean, it's really beautiful, really cool to experience that. I never knew what that was beforehand, but it was really interesting to have that. Why did I say all this? I don't know. I just saw your picture of half naked guys and I was like, yeah, I've been there live. But there it is. So Ian's speechless. He has nothing to say.
I'm just. Well, listen. I was as amazed as anyone because it's funny you're talking about the live draws. So Andre Orsch at Dre Studios does these live every week. I think he does.
Is he doing his own modeling or?
I don't know if he's doing his own modeling.
That's a joke.
I will happily model for anyone. I'm a brave.
Yeah, Dre just has to hit me up.
Yeah, and I noticed that you're on there, and I often, unfortunately, I don't really get to watch many of them live. I can often dip in and say hello, but I never get to watch all of them just because of the time of day, and I only get so much hobby time, Marcia. I'm only allowed out to play for a few hours a day, but I noticed my train of thought has gone completely. That's right. So when you were doing one, when Andre was doing one a few months back, Norrin, you went on there and I noticed you were drawing something. And
I was drawing.
Yeah, because I knew you were going. I think it was his first one actually, and I think it was around our 50th episode, and I just kind of tuned in towards the end, and all of a sudden I didn't realise what you were doing, and then you held something up that you'd drawn. I've been like, motherfucker, you've kept this quiet, because it's like I didn't know you had any artistic skills.
I can't do it at all.
But you say that, but I looked at it, and if you saw what I draw compared to what you would be able to draw, and it's like, and you actually came out with something that looked reasonably formed, I guess.
I don't know. I've tried art is a discipline. It's a discipline. Unless you do it every day, the muscles you don't, what I mean? You have to develop your skill and you have to build on layers. It's beautiful. I mean, always impressed by what you do, Marcia, and what artists do as well, because it's such a, I don't know, to create something from nothing. And in the process, especially when you watch a live draw or you watch someone draw something, it's so crazy to see an idea start building layers, because you have to keep track of everything, and then you're building and building and building. It's just a very, very hypnotic thing to watch and to experience. So I try to draw for myself, and calms me down and everything like that. But absolutely, but that's very nice of you to say, Ian.
Oh, well, it's you're no Marcia, but you were very good.
100%.
So Marcia, do you obviously I saw you on there with Andre. The interesting thing about sketch cards artists is that outside of the con circuit, they do seem obviously very siloed and isolated. And obviously, you being in the UK, there's a smaller proportion of the artists in the UK. Do you ever kind of get to connect like that with many artists, or is that a fairly new thing for you to do?
I'm on several Facebook groups, and I chat to other artists, and that's really supportive and fun. And we did there was a convention, an online convention, a Star Wars one run by a Star Wars collecting group, and I did some live draws there and that sort of thing. Wow. And did a review, and I really loved it, because obviously being in Norfolk, there's not so many things like comic cons or anything that I can actually go to or contribute to. So yeah, that was really good fun. So that was one of the highlights of lockdown, being able to do that.
Well, I guess that's the same, with everyone's finding, online, it's accelerated what people will do and open themselves up to. And so many people are doing things like this, just for work now, as much as anything else. This is how people meet and talk about stuff. So, which is fascinating. Did you ever go to the, there is one, obviously it's not on this year for obvious reasons, that NorCon?
NorCon?
Yeah, yeah, just on Norfolk Showground.
Visitor. I didn't actually exhibit there though. I went and with my daughter, who's really into Doctor Who and Star Trek thing. So I went with her and we had a look around. But that was nice. Really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's tiny. I mean, compared to the ones that you get in the States, Norrin, it is properly small. It's.
I've never gone to a big one. I mean, I know I should. Like, people are inviting me to go. I mean, obviously now it's not happening, but like, yeah, I've only gone to small ones too. So I don't even know what it's like to see these like massive halls. You know what I mean? And these convention centers sold out.
But I thought the one that you went to where you met Ron Lim, was that?
You know what? It wasn't like. I guess my idea of comparison of what's like a huge place, like that was called Galaxy Con, and it was in North Carolina, Raleigh. No, it wasn't Raleigh. Where was it? Charlotte, maybe. Anyway, it was big, but it wasn't like the San Diego or the New York. No. Like it wasn't even on a scale of like NC Comic Con, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like super large. I don't know how people do it, the cons. I mean, that's just nerve-wracking for me. I think it's awesome to have the ability to do that. You have to come over and do that one day with me, and we should go to a con.
Oh, I thought you were going to invite Marcia as well.
She's already invited. I already got her ticket. I was inviting you. I wasn't sure about inviting you. Me and Marcia are already kind of like because she wanted to use my face for modeling or whatever, so we already talked about it.
But thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Marvel Podcast. Have you been over to do any of the bigger ones, Marcia, in the States, or any of the ones in London?
I've never been on a plane before, so I don't think. No, I've never been abroad. Always been in the UK.
Wow.
Is that just because you just hasn't happened, or have you got any kind of Mr. T fear of flying kind of thing going on?
Yeah, I'm a bit that way.
Oh, that's fun. Right.
It's one of my little phobias. Flying.
Well, I'm sure at some point we will tempt you to we'll have a British contingent of us go over to America and do something. I don't know. We'll just go and drink with Norrin, even though he doesn't drink. Do you?
This is true.
I noticed because there are obviously a contingent of UK artists. One of the guys at that Norcon convention that I met, I did meet one guy who works on Star Wars stuff, Jay Manchard, I think his name is, who is incredible young artist.
Area too, I believe. Is he from Norwich area?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love his work.
Yeah. And he was displaying at Norcon, and he this was not long after I'd started the groups actually, and I met him and introduced myself, and his work is just getting stronger and stronger each time I see him post stuff. And he's a young lad, he's in his 20s. But he again does those top sets every single time they come around. It seems, and Tops are putting out an awful lot of product. Do you so on the top sets? I was listening to a podcast, and in fact, he may well invite you to come and talk to him. A guy called Greg McLaughlin does a podcast called The Rebel Base Card.
Oh yeah,
which is Star Wars focused, and he's really good. And he kind of does what we do, but for Star Wars.
Super nice, super great.
He's kind of branches out more into the different areas of the fandom in Star Wars. So he's spoken to people who collect figures and people who run different like websites and things. But he was talking to an artist, I think in Australia, Brent Scotchmer, I believe his name is. He's in Western Australia, and obviously he's kind of as far away as you can get from Tops as you can imagine, in terms of just the stock getting to him. They have to FedEx it, and it gets driven across Australia to get to him. So he's obviously quite remote. But one of the things he was saying was, I believe it was Brent was saying that he's found that a couple of sets he has had to say no to from Tops, because he, they invite, and they do a lot of stuff, and he was really worried that because he of saying no ever, because he wouldn't want them to not invite him again to work on a set. And he was saying that actually that hasn't happened, and because of the amount of product they put out and the amount of artists they've got on rotation, it actually works quite well. So what's your experience of, so this is a really long preamble to a question, what's your experience of working with Tops? You mentioned the timelines, just how it differs from Tops versus Upper Deck, for example, who obviously we're closer to because of the Marvel.
Well, they do, like I said earlier, they hardly give you a deadline. It can be like a couple of weeks sometimes, and that is such a shame because you feel that you can't devote as much time as you would like to each piece. I mean, I obviously do my best, but yeah, the set I'm working on at the minute for them, like, I'm finding it kind of a bit of a push, but hopefully I did ask to do that. They actually are quite good. If you say, I've got a lot on, can I just do 20 or something like that, then they will be flexible. So, yeah, they are good to work for, and I love doing any Star Wars cards as well.
I love your Star Wars stuff. Beautiful, beautiful work.
And I was so pleased when I got to do a base card as well for the Galaxy set. I did a pack card, and that really was like one of the big highlights so far, really, of my artistic journey.
So I'm guessing that's a larger format to start with.
That's why I love doing it.
Yeah. Because that was one of the few questions actually about base card art. So is that the only one you've done so far for anyone?
Oh, my daughter's reminding me from upstairs. She went better than I do. Oh yeah, I did the one for iconic literature. It was a Lucy from Dracula.
Nice.
And I did some for cult stuff, and that was another Dracula set. And I did pin-ups and pitfalls for Ken Galan. Can you?
Yep.
And one as well for Ken Galan. One. Perna, I've done one for classic mythology for Perna Studios. 2 pieces, yeah. And I've got quite a few of they obviously give you copies of the little base cards, and sometimes I'll put them in with stuff what I sell to, people who collect my work. So it's really nice, and it's really nice to be able to work on a larger scale, because then I feel I can really do a lot more with the actual art then. So
yeah,
I really would love to do a comic book cover, but I don't know how. I actually think it's quite hard to get into that. There's so many people who, there's so many artists that I admire who do the Marvel sketch covers and stuff.
Yeah, have you actually done any work on blank? As you know, because when I went to Norcon, for example, there was an artist. I think Lee Townsend is his name. I've got a sketch cover that he did for me, and he took my order at the con, and then I think I got it in the mail a couple of weeks later, and that was a blank cover. Here we go. So I bought it off him, and he drew that on.
Yeah, that's nice. Really nice.
So have you done much of this kind of thing, or have you dabbled in that at all?
So far, I'm finding it hard to get the actual comic book, because in the UK you get a few ones that you can get your hands on, but a lot of them ones that you have to get from America. But it's something I want to do, obviously, in the future. But to be honest, with all the sketch cards, I don't get a lot of time to actually fit it in. But I would love to work scale. Yeah.
Well, in terms of getting hold of the actual blanks, you can. I can message you afterwards. I used to shop in and subscribe to Forbidden Planet in London a lot, and obviously they're one of the biggest places. But you used to be able to buy them off the shelves, literally. But you can mail order as well. So it's always worth doing that and buying in some. And there are groups. There are groups devoted just to comic sketch covers like that, and I've seen people selling bulk blanks on there as well. So it's certainly something you could obviously people also, buy the blanks and then send them to artists to do, which is another way of doing it. But I think if you can say, the way I see a lot of artists doing it is saying, I've got a blank cover and I will take commissions on it, or they'll just go ahead and do a commission on a blank cover and then people will buy it. Case in point, if I can just get them out to you, we've mentioned them already. Tony Perner.
Oh, that's right.
Really good.
And his black and white work stuff is unparalleled.
His ink work is amazing.
And so they'd done these to sell. So these weren't commissions, and I saw them and I was like, you know what? Just before the world goes crazy and we go into lockdown. I mean, this is literally my last purchase before lockdown. I think it arrived the first week of everything being shut down over here, and I was like, you know what? There's a nice ray of sunshine into my day. But yeah, getting hold of the actual blanks, if you wanted to kind of start looking into that, I think is a relatively straightforward thing.
Yeah, I think you'd be great at that, Marcy, obviously. I think those would be absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And
I think people would buy it.
For sure.
Do them. So, could be a nice little earner for you. It's doing my little Ray Winston stroke Sweeney. I'm dropping all these British references because I know Marcia will get them. For once. Sorry. I have all these British references I can drop, and I don't get just stared at and blinked at. Much.
Wait, are we talking again?
Yeah. There we go. Typical. So, are you? If someone from Upper Deck, for example, said, "Oh, we're doing another Fleer Ultra Spider-Man set, 2022," said, "Would you like to do some base art for that?" I'm sure your answer would be.
Excited about that. Yeah, I'd love it. It'd be really great if they did a set where all the different artists who work on there, like Galaxy, but for Upper Deck artists, and then everybody could contribute some base art. That would be such an exciting set, I think.
I think it would be, yeah.
People would be really excited for that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. And of course, if you were going to do proper art for, I say proper, sorry, that came out wrong. If you were going to do art for an actual published comic book variant cover, there are definitely people who can probably drop contacts your way to submit stuff to. I mean, we talked to Eric Gist recently, and he's been doing a lot of incredible cover work for Marvel and for Dark Horse as well, more on the horror kind of spectrum. But yeah, I think listen, I mean, your work is absolutely stunning. I've got Tony here. I'd love someday to have a Marcia Black Cat cover next to this. So I would be truly honoured to own one of those. I know you're not alone there, and I know she's hovering off camera as we speak. But am I right in thinking that your daughter also dabbles in some artwork?
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Is it Kitty? Is it?
Yeah, Kitty Lydia.
Hello. Well, welcome to the podcast. She's no one will be able to see her because this is obviously just going to be an audio only. So you're okay. Yeah. But have you? Because I saw you commenting on something on a group about a year ago, and I think I said, "Oh, I think I know your mum," or "Is this your mum?" Obviously, I'm aware of Marcia's work. So have you? Was it just because your mum did it that you've kind of taken to it, or?
Yeah, definitely, because Mum's always... I'm mainly a writer. I do historical fiction for UK magazine, but while I'm writing, Mum's in the corner drawing, and then I ended up taking part on some Unstoppable card sets with her.
Wow. That's right. I knew you'd worked on something. I just couldn't remember where I'd seen it. I think it was in the Sketch Card Fanatics group or something. I think I saw you commenting.
I did all the puppet ones from Jerry Anderson.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Who does really the Jerry Anderson sets now?
It's Unstoppable cards still.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so exciting.
Well, I've noticed there's a few UK companies that put out stuff as well. Isn't there an Avengers set?
Yeah, I've been on that one.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and Marcia, did I just see The Saint, the Roger Moore series?
Yeah, we did that too, both of us. Yeah.
So it's a mother and daughter tag team. So has there been any temptation, Kitty, to maybe do a jam card with your mum on one of the Marvel sets?
It was contemporary pin-ups, and it was a puzzle jam. I did one side and Mum did the other. That was when I really first started out there. My work was more line work and that, though.
Wow, that's cool.
That was fun,
I just hook Mum in to do illustrations for my writing mainly, though.
Yeah, well, I'll illustrate her book covers as well.
Oh, nice.
Wow,
She has books on Kindle. Lots of books on Kindle.
Yeah, and the opera.
And I'll do Gothic sort of covers for them. So that's some more work.
I think one of the illustrations is a bit further down on Mum's Facebook page.
Yeah, it's on the Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have a look. That's much more Norrin's wheelhouse, that kind of Gothic.
Love all that stuff. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. So cool.
Can we expect to see a mother and daughter Marvel dabble at some point? I mean, would Upper Deck even allow you to kind of sneak Kitty on there? Do you know?
I don't know. The contracts say that it's got to be your work, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You could try. We've got contact details. You could contact them.
Well, I think you might have to because, you're right. Of course, being Marvel, I think everyone has to be kind of pre-approved and at a higher level than Upper Deck, don't they? So, listen, I think. If having a mother and daughter team working on some of those Marvel cards, I'd really like to see that.
My style's a little bit different because it's anime and manga more, but because I love more realistic artwork, I wish I could get to that level.
Well, Marvel Anime's coming, and if it's, I think that's going to be pretty successful. So that I wouldn't be at all surprised if they did another.
Yeah.
Those. So
that'd be really cool to see.
That could be a little angle. Wow. Okay. I love this. I absolutely love this. Marcia, what's next for you then? Obviously, you've got 4 Marvel projects that we won't even kind of go near talking about.
Just worked a really exciting project for Cryptozoic, but I can't say what it is. But I was really pleased about this one. It's something where I better not say anyway. And Tops, obviously, I've got sets coming out. Rittenhouse. So I've been really keeping busy. Yeah.
Wow. Do you actually? It's something I'm always interested in because some artists are big collectors and/or readers as well. Have you? Is Marvel always being something that you've kind of dived into, or pop culture like Star Wars and Vampire and things like that, just generally, or is it?
My main thing that I've always loved is all the Lord of the Rings films and Star Wars and Star Wars. More of a popular culture thing.
I'm more of the Marvel fan.
She's more of the Marvel fan.
When I was little, she had to sit through all the X-Men cartoons and the Spider-Man cartoons, run on the peak. So I used to watch them all the time.
Yeah. So obviously, watching them with her, then obviously I learned to appreciate Marvel.
And you read all the comics that I collect.
Got a bit of peace and quiet when we were on.
So basically, you're the one to thank for your mother being so good in the Marvel card sphere.
Thank you.
Some black cat characters.
Yeah, she's an expert on the characters. I often have to ask her now, who is this one here? What should I do for this one? She gives me loads of ideas. She's got a really great imagination, probably because she's a writer. I'm more very visual. I kind of like how things look. And she's really into actually coming up with really interesting ideas. Yeah.
That's interesting. That is really
great.
Interesting. Do you is it something I've noticed some artists do, and I've noticed you kind of have slightly different kind of takes, and I imagine time plays a part of it. Some artists, when they approach the bigger sets like masterpieces, especially if they're going to do a lot of, some artists are still doing 150 cards. It's a crazy amount of work. For the benefit of those at home, Marcia just grimaced and shook her head. 150 cards. Oh my goodness. but to keep it fresh, some artists chose to do kind of little subsets of characters or different style subsets within it, which I see you've done on your masterpieces with the kind of the one tone kind of background and then the foreground being a more full color. Is that something you like to play with? The more, if you've got the time to do so.
Yeah, I like the set that I'm doing at the minute. I'm doing a lot of sepia because I'm short on time, and I really like sepia work. So yeah, that sort of thing. But it just depends really on time limits and stuff like that. Really, if I've got loads of time, then I could really go to town. But I don't always have to kind of really juggle a lot of sets at the same time, and I don't like to turn stuff down, obviously.
Yeah.
But with people losing their jobs, I'm just pleased to actually have someone offer me work at the minute.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, I think that's perfectly fair enough. It's interesting that the shortness of time has a different effect on your creativity. So, the fact that you'll have chosen to do that, I'm sure people will look at it and go, "Oh, that's brilliant!" And it's like, "Well, I didn't choose to do that because of this. I chose to do it because I was quite short of time." So, which is interesting. Okay.
Like that, yeah.
Have you ever done, and I need to ask because Norrin hasn't yet, a Silver Surfer?
He's banned.
He's on the banned list.
Well, I know he's banned, but you did start working on stuff. Well, no, Marcia did start working on stuff before he was banned, but of course she didn't start working on Marvel till Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, and he was banned then.
I got on my first set the Fleer Ultra Spider-Man
with Spider-Man on it as well.
Yeah, there's a Deadpool and Spider-Man card, and it's out there somewhere in the wilderness. I've not seen it pulled yet. I don't believe.
I begged you to do a Deadpool
because my daughter loves,
and then he ended up banned on
the next set. Deadpool.
No.
Isn't it romantic?
Yeah, the Spider-Man Deadpool comic.
Yeah, she loves those. And she said, do with Deadpool, and so I did one, but I haven't since been pulled. I know it got approved.
He got banned the next set, I think.
The next set, though, that you can't draw him now. So.
Wow.
Oh,
that's great.
You're not going to be able to draw Punisher for a while as well.
Different people got banned. Yeah.
So, but have you ever kind of been tempted to just play with the Silver Surfer, not on a Marvel card set, just as an experiment? I'm just dying to know if you've ever done one.
I've really done them.
Like you said, you really liked him in.
I like the character in the Spider-Man.
Not was it those Fantastic Four? She said when you were younger, you watched a really old cartoon.
That was Spider-Man, I thought. I don't know. I can remember he rocked up on his. Am I thinking he's got like an ice jet that he travels around?
You're thinking of Iceman. You're thinking of.
Maybe I'm more than
conversation so much.
I think you're talking about Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which was an animated cartoon with Iceman and Firestar.
Yeah, could well be. That'd probably be my era, I should think.
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed watching that when I was a young one.
Kitty and I grew up on the same cartoons. So she was talking about the Fantastic Four, which is, you've seen the episode with the Silver Surfer. He was in the Fantastic Four animated series, and I'm like, she gets it right here. I'm with you. I know where you're at. I see you. Good work.
Good. Well, when Silver Surfer is released from his artistic prison,
I will be hitting you up, just so you know.
Yes, I'm sure that will
mark
be
it down in a calendar or something like that, like 2020, 2088. I don't know.
Oh dear, it's a long drought you've got here, Norrin.
I know, it's nice though. I get to catch up, so I feel pretty good about it. He'll come out. He'll be around. He's coming. He ain't going nowhere.
He will. I haven't got them with me, actually. They're downstairs, but I've finally got my first Black Cats from Marvel Masterpieces 2020. They have arrived.
Oh, I saw your posts. Beautiful pieces, man.
They're in hand. I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. So I think I don't think I had anything else to ask you, actually, Marcia. I'm kind of out of inspirational questions and probing in-depth exposés, really. But where can people find you on the interwebs, Marcia, if they want to lay their eyes on your work?
Facebook is the place to go to contact me. I'm always happy to message people back if they want to ask anything. And then I put my work up there, what I'm working on currently and stuff. There's loads of stuff up there dating back from my early eBay days, I think. There's Lord of the Rings paintings and all sorts. So, yeah.
Wow.
So
Anyone just check is it Art by Marcia? Kitty knows better because she helps me put it together.
Art by Dye.
Art by Dye. Yeah.
There we go. Art by Marcia Dye. I'm looking at it right now. We will make sure that goes on the tasting notes. I know that you're on a couple of the other social channels, although I know you don't update them as much. But we'll put all the links, Marcia, of everywhere people can find you. And they can go and feast their eyes rather, and then hopefully hit you up for some APs. I imagine you've probably got some AP. Do your Marvel APs go pretty quick? Do people hit you up for those?
Yeah, I've got loose blanks actually. Yeah. What I've got are actually drawn.
Runaways is the only one you can mention.
Runaways is the only one I can mention. I've had those for ages. Yeah. I just haven't. What I often do, I'll do the set cards, and then I don't get time to do my APs until much later, really, because I'm going on to set. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if anyone wants an AP from Marcia, hit her up via our Facebook page. I can assure you, as personal experience will attest to, it's worth every single penny.
100%.
I love these. They're so good. Thank you for. I think I might have been the only bidder on one of them. I think I managed to snaffle it without any competition. But the other one, I think someone else was after the other one, and it cost me a little bit more, but absolutely worth every single penny. So I won't be buying any Masterpieces 2020 boxes, certainly not physically. So I don't think I'll be able to pull any of your stuff. But if I get any of the Black Cats that you've done for that set, I'll be sure to let you know. But but thank you for doing her so well and so regularly.
Yeah, I love drawing her. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the feeling is mutual. We've got a thing here going on. No Black Cat. No surfer love on this episode. Just all.
That's
Black
okay.
Cat.
Black Cat's fine. Cool. We can talk about Black Cat. That's fine.
Black Cat's cool. Marcia, thank you for joining us. I've loved this. This has been an absolute hoot, and thank you, Kitty, as well.
Thank you so much.
Look at this. I love it. We book one guest, we get another one pop in for free.
Love it.
So 2 for the price of 1. You know, this is the cringeworthy, embarrassing part. The fact that I can't say it's cringeworthy enough. Where Marcia, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to see us out this week on this week's episode with our customary sign off, if you can remember it. In fact, you can both do it if you want.
Enjoy collecting.
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling @the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.